The People's Democratic Party, PDP, has warned All Progressive Congress, APC, against any attempt to frame up the PDP presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar. And also, a report by a group has claimed that an estimated 626 lives were lost across Nigeria during the 2019 elections. This is Plus Politics, and I'm Maryann Okon. The National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has warned the All Progressive Congress, APC, against any attempt to frame the PDP presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, over his comments on national issues. Now, it said it had taken note of the statement of the APC warning Atiku, making comments on the state of the nation, and that his patriotic reactions to pressing national issues amounted to a felony. Now, the PDP National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Kola Olobodiyan, in a statement emphatically stated that Atiku's comments on national issues had been patriotic and within his constitutional rights of freedom of speech, not only as a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but also as a former vice president, as well as a leader and the presidential candidate of the PDP. Now, to have this conversation, I'll be introducing our guests, but we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be meeting our guests. Stay with us. Joining us in the studio to have this conversation, I have two legal practitioners in the studio. Of course, since we're talking about issues of felony here, I have Daniel Odupe, he's a legal practitioner, and of course, Obi Ajebo, also a legal practitioner. It's good to have you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, so I'm going to start with you, Obi. This is the APC saying that the comment of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is not necessarily patriotic in nature and could amount to felony, and that he's acting somewhat as a shadow president of the country. What does the Constitution say about this? Is there any such thing? I mean, for all the comments that you have heard or read in the newspapers, that could amount to felony in this instance?
Well, felony is a class of classification of crimes. There's misdemeanors and there's felony. Mm-hmm. Now, if you say felony, it's like a broad thing. What part of what crime did he commit that amounts to a felony? Mm-hmm. That shows that the person is not a legal mind and he wasn't briefed. Mm-hmm. Secondly, the Constitution gives us rights of freedom of speech. So far as we don't do anything treasonable, or so far as we don't incite or do anything that will bring the breach of peace. Mm-hmm. And I as a person, I am not a politician, but I can comment on political matters within parameters. So now let's look at Atiku. He's an elder statesman. He's been a vice president. He's within his jurisdiction to do that. So what the spokesperson or whoever brought out such, I wanted to say something but I hold it. Whoever brought out such felonious statement should now explain to us what aspect of his speech would be referred to as felony.
I'll feed you in. Mm-hmm. Now, they're saying that there are issues that have been somewhat inflammatory. There have been remarks that have been inflammatory, you know, including issues of Mr. President's WAEC certificate, you know. They've also talked about, you know, certain things that he has said or reached out to the international community for, that it's not within his rights to do so. So I'm wondering, again, I'm trying to bring this forward so we could see if there is anything that falls in that category of felony.
Mr. President's certificate or non-certificate or whatever certificate is all in the public domain. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows about it. Everybody can infer or make assertions or come to anything about it. And he has a right, because he has links with the international community, to put, let's say Nigeria needs something, and the president is getting, the president, maybe he's more on a friendly term with this regime, the American government, than Mr. President. He can now speak to them and say, please, can you help our country? Can you do this? Can you do that? Except if he says something that would incite them or call them to blacklist Nigeria or to cause a blockade or something.
Coming to you, Odupe, according to Atiku Abubakar and the PDP, they're saying that Nigeria needs a working, not a sitting president. Let's examine that statement. A working, not a sitting president. It could be reframed or transmitted in different ways. People could also, get all kinds of reactions from it. But if the PDP is saying this, could this also amount to inciting the public against Mr. President, or is it inflammatory in any way?
I do not think that statement is inflammatory in any way. Mr. President is the #1 citizen of this country. If we can talk about the private lives of celebrities, and even though they are actually private citizens, people still expect them to understand that once they are in the eye of the public, then they should know that there will be some level of intrusion into their privacy. How much more the #1 president, the #1 citizen of a country, who was elected, on the platform to lead the country. He, in my opinion, in a sense, he cannot. Things like this are expected. I can tell you, in any reasonable society in the world, as the head of government, as the head of state, you expect such level of intrusion, such level of criticism. Unfortunately, many Nigerians will agree fortunately or unfortunately, they will agree with Atiku and the PDP to say that we need a working president. So I do not see anything inflammatory in that. We are within our rights to ask, or PDP and Atiku rather, and Nigerians, because in my opinion, I think majority of Nigerians subscribe to that our president is not as active as we want him to be. We can't blame him too much. He's an elderly man. So
what does that have to do with anything?
Oh well, so the trend now.
Donald Trump is an elderly man. He's very up and doing. Oh
well, maybe not as old as our president in any event, apart from Donald Trump. And okay, recently now the new Prime Minister of Britain, the trend has been for young people, to attain the position of leadership, and we thought and we hoped that we're going to toe that line. Unfortunately, it didn't come to be. But so I'm just saying that basically that I don't see anything inflammatory in that. It's a well-known. He has always been in the eye, of the public, for due to his state of health and his age. APC and the current administration have tried all they could to, to play it down, but it will always be there, and I don't think that's anything inflammatory about that.
When does a statement, where do you draw the line between criticism and inciting?
Okay. I'll tell you. Remember when a certain presidential aspirant made a statement, the baboons and what was that statement? The baboons and something. That's an inciting statement. That's an inciting statement.
Okay, so that is so. For example, you're playing opposition. Let's take it from the PDP's perspective. They're playing opposition, and their duty, #1 duty, is to criticize constructively. So if they continue in that line, where do they draw it? Where do they say we can't go beyond? Because you both sound like, oh, they're just criticizing, it's not inflammatory. But if, according to the PDP, the APC, they're saying the presidential candidate of the PDP has gone beyond his limits. He's more like not necessarily addressing issues, but he's trying to incite the public against the president. He's going more like taking on the duties of Mr. President, parading himself as if he were president. And I'm wondering, is that even possible? I know in the UK you have shadow cabinets, you have shadow ministers and stuff, but I don't think that applies to Nigeria because we don't run a parliamentary system.
Have you taken time out, sorry to debate, and looked at the debates in the House of Commons?
Oh yes, I do. I watched that.
You know, it's like fireworks.
Yes.
we've not even gotten 1/10 of that in Nigeria. To me, Atiku is not even doing anything. And the PDP are not doing much. They should mark this government step by step and criticize them step by step, so that by them criticizing them, the government will up their ante.
Well, for the PDP now, I'd like to quote Olobodiyan, the spokesperson. He said that it is quite disturbing that the APC alleged that they were attacking, or what the APC has alleged was attacking Atiku for commending the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. This is where this all started, for appointing 39-year-old Nigerian Kemi Badenoch as a minister in his cabinet. Now, we're all aware that a British, which we all celebrate as Nigerian, was given a position in the British cabinet. Now, they're saying, Kola Olobodiyan is saying, contrary to Buhari's projection to the world that Nigerian youths are lazy and should not be given active role in governance in our country, other nations are finding accommodation for our youth. Atiku cannot but commend such world leaders, no matter whose ox is gored. Now, he also says it is also instructive to note that the APC has further shown its disdain for Nigerian youths, as being demonstrated by Buhari, whose cabinet has no place for youths. Yes, we can say that that's a dagger thrown in that direction. But he's saying this is the basis for your sending this message out and threatening our presidential candidates, only because he decided to applaud a certain government for allowing a young person in its cabinet. Could we, I mean, I'm trying here to see if there's anything that is out of place for Atiku to commend Boris Johnson, who's the newly emerged British Prime Minister.
I cannot but agree more and more with my colleague here that, as much as, even if anybody tries to play the role of devil's advocate, you can't find it. It's ridiculous. It's worrisome for every Democrat, for any Democrat, that the presidency and the APC are trying to. We're not even close to it at all. I wish the opposition, and not just the PDP, the opposition generally, can wake up and do a lot more. There's nothing, okay, so maybe let me try and, also answer the question she did earlier, but let me just try and answer it again about where to draw the line. Look, unless it can be shown that a statement will incite the public in terms of inciting violence, there's no point there saying that it's inflammatory or anything. No, it's not the at all.
Can I say something?
Yes, of course.
The APC is just chasing shadows.
Well, there are people who have also said that there's too many issues that are on ground that should be
too many
to be addressed, but that this is some form of a distraction from what is on the table. Where do you stand on that?
I believe so. It's just like you have the place is heated up, then they brought in comic relief. This is comic relief again. We have people that are literally unemployed. We have insecurity. We are now begging God that they don't come to our houses to start kidnapping us and checking our phones to know how much alert we have. We have NEPA that is, I don't know whether it's NEPA or PHCN, that they've been pumping money into, and it's not getting anywhere. Likewise, we have a government that just celebrated signing in with Siemens, the same Siemens that Obasanjo signed in with, and the same Siemens that other previous governments have signed in with, and we did not see what they did. Well, maybe they did it and it wasn't publicized, I don't know. We have so many issues. And maybe this is to distract us from the presidential tribunal, I don't know. But we have too many issues. This shouldn't even be on the burner.
Again, back to Kola Olobodiyan, he's saying, and I quote, "The PDP invites Nigerians to note that the renewed allegations against Atiku Abubakar came after a witness told the court that, and has been publicly reported, that the army never inquired any enlisted officer to submit Mr. President's WAEC certificate in total contradiction to claims that Mr. President's certificate were in custody of the army. He also went on to say that while the PDP was in power, it never gagged the APC and its leaders, including President Buhari, from exercising their freedom of speech and freedom after speech in line with the laws. Do we see a gag order of sorts on the opposition?
That's what everything, that's what the point has, has been. And so unfortunately, like I said earlier, it's a worrisome situation. People have been saying before now that, look, it seems that we are going to get into a position or a situation whereby, the regime in power would try as much as possible to silence opposition. And the body language of the administration has been confirming that, and it's unfortunate. I know you don't want to know. I'm sure we're all in this country when APC, maybe they were not APC then, when they were in the opposition, all manner of attacks, and nobody came to, the former president was called all sorts of names and what have you, and nobody raised issues like this. It's not possible. People will continue to talk, and it's within their constitutional right to talk, to question you. It's, in fact, if you are attempting to do a thing like this, then it should be a cause for worry. It should be a cause for concern, because it probably now means that nobody, you will never find anybody doing so well when they are totally at ease, and you need to be put on your toes like this, and that's what PDP and APC, and PDP has been doing. So I see there's no merit in these allegations.
What could be the underlining issue? What could be the undertone? Is there anything that is causing the ruling party? Maybe for those who might not see, is there a cause for them to be jittery or worried about an Atiku and some of the statements that he's making? Could there be any reasons, underlying reasons, because they are in power, they are the government of the day? What could be causing the worry or the jitters, on the side of the APC?
There's something that came to my mind, but if I say it, it will not be funny. So I better gag myself too, and I'll come. First of all, we must tell ourselves the truth, that this government has performed beneath our expectations.
But they're just starting this new next level, that's what it's called. We just got our ministers who were all approved by the Senate with the bow and go.
Yes, with the bow and go. I appreciate. But also, if I want to say something about those ministers, I'm gagging myself about saying something about those ministers.
There's a lot of gagging tonight.
since they're gagging, But firstly, it is this government has everything to worry about. Left to me, they're just hanging on a thin string.
Why do you think so? I mean, they have lots of promises and plans that they are saying they're going to roll out in this second tenure. Why would they be hanging by
those ministers who is who in a certain list? I don't. When I saw those ministers, I just started laughing. I just wrote. I said, Nigeria, we people have been deceived again, have gotten something coming this way, this next 3 years.
But there are people who are also of the opinion, I mean, there's been a debate on social media since the list came out. There are people who are saying that this is not anything surprising, because this is what most politicians do. They bring people in who have supported them one way or the other in the elections. And it's, yes, of course, we will call it a settlement list, but it could also be that these are people they think they can work with. And the president had said before this list came out that he wanted people he had a working relationship with. So does that not help the work go forward?
No, fine. Obasanjo was not a politician, was he?
Well, he is.
And then he managed to put in technocrats into his place. And Jonathan, Musa Yar'Adua was not a politician, was he? Was there not technocrats in his team? Did Jonathan not have technocrats? Our country is...
Maybe these are political technocrats,
Well, I know that no matter how bad we get to, that Nigeria will never sink. That much I know. I know that because of what happened in June 12 and how how it was sorted out by God for us. So there's nothing that would make me know that anybody can pull.
But here we go again. We always rely on the God syndrome and the God factor, and this is with due respect to all those who believe in God. But the reason why we're giving, you know, knowledge for all kinds of things for scientists and doctors and professors and technocrats is so that we can put those things that we know to use, our brains to use. We cannot expect angels and God to come down and help us in our democracy if that's what we really want to practice.
Okay, so outside of the God factor, I think all hope is not lost. I think, you know, the challenges are overwhelming. Like she said, you know, the current administration has underperformed big time. But there are signs here and there that, you know, I don't think all hope is lost. But basically, like she said, the fact that there are no technocrats, you know, among our ministers to be, is going to be a huge concern. But even at that, I don't think all hope is lost because, for example, there's still room to get the technocrats involved.
Improvement. So this is the last tenure. There's no second tenure to change anything. So what is done is done.
Technocrats may not need to be ministers for them to still contribute, all right? The ideal situation would have been for them to be on board. But even at that, I still think that they still have a lot of role to play. I still think that their input can still be harnessed big time, you know. So let's just hope that the political will to truly move the nation forward to be stronger this time around. I don't think all hope are lost, really, basically. Yeah.
There's still good news coming out from the stable of Nigeria. There's a Comet company that has come to set up a factory to be making caramel, which was being imported. There are places where I just read today that Akwa Ibom imported 2,000 heads of cow. They want to go into ranching. So there's still good news coming out. But you see, it's not basically Nigerians work. But I think Nigerians work independent of whatever the federal government is doing. And that's why we're having this success story. There are still some people that believe in the Nigerian dream and that going at government.
But why have a government, I'm sorry to butt in, but why have a government in place who are not necessarily governing, and so the people become a government unto themselves? What's the essence? If we're losing so much taxpayers' monies in paying and funding these politicians' lifestyles, we should be demanding good dividends of democracy. We need to make sure that we place a demand on them to do the right thing.
We're people of over 20 million. That's what the figure says. The challenges are enormous. Sincerely speaking, if you're going to leave it to the government alone,
But if they do their part, wouldn't that ease the problem?
That's all we can ask for. To get to a
stage that federal government's own will just be policy making. And we're slowly edging towards there. Remember I said on this place about early this year that we're going to get state police. If you've noticed the utterances of the Southwest and the Southeast, and even Governor Wike has started doing that, has started recruiting and whatnot. So we are moving step by step, but it's not going to be a great thing. It's going to be federal government will just be policy making. And then the autonomous bodies will be making the laws for their regions and making the laws, and things will work out. But I'm very, very optimistic about the Nigerian project.
Okay, we'll keep our fingers crossed. I want to say thank you to Obi Ajebwa and Pastor Daniel Odupe. But they're not going anywhere because we'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll be speaking about how many lives were lost during the 2019 election. Stay with us.